早晨啦，多謝大家晨早就 join 我呢個 webinar。咁所以好高興咧，就係2022年咧係我哋協會第一次嘅 webinar。咁會多謝幾位朋友先。第一個咧就係我哋今次協辦嘅 media 啦 ，TechApple 我老友Shadow 咧，我哋喺疫情之前咧冇疫情咧，成日都喺啲展會度出現嘅要做啲媒體訪問啦，有陣時去訪問嘅唔同嘅可能 startup 啦。咁今日咧都透過個媒體 online 嘅 TechApple 咧做咗啲宣傳，咁咧吸引到好多朋友過嚟聽我哋晨早呢個 webinar。另外要多謝兩位朋友啦，今日就係應邀嘅嘉賓就 Felicia 啦，同埋阿 Jordan， 咁一陣都會介紹下佢哋。咁今日咧個 section 咧特別嘅，我哋講咧後疫情即係把握呢個 Post-Pandemic 啊。點解我講都好似棘棘地嘅即係 like cam mode 咧嚇？因為咧 Felicia 咧係一個 English speaker 嚟嘅，不過我知佢咧聽得懂你講廣東話嘅，咁你打中文字我唔知佢睇唔睇到。不過咧，成個環節咧，嗰啲時候先會 share 一下關於 technology 啊、innovation 啊，可能 AR 啊、VR 嘅 interactive 嘅 solution 啊，咁有啲 experience share 俾大家。咁第二個環節咧 ，Jordan 咧就喺廣告界啦、marketing 界咧，最近咧有個好熱門嘅話題講 NFT， 咁啊做呢兩節嘅 sharing。咁咧做完呢兩節 sharing 之後咧，我會有一個短暫嘅時間咧，同佢哋一齊 chat 下講下可能你哋嘅問題啦，或者我心目中聽完佢啲嘢之後咧，都會有啲問題㗎。咁我哋叫有個 Q&A 嘅環節。咁我希望今朝呢個好濃縮嘅晨早嘅 webinar 帶俾你一個好有insight 嘅一個朝頭早啦，好嘛？咁咧好啦，差唔多好多朋友入咗嚟啊！早晨啊，早晨啊，早晨，早晨，早晨，早晨。好啦，咁好啦，咁我哋因為好多朋友早入咗嚟，咁我哋就事不宜遲，好唔好啊？咁咧，我頭先簡單介紹咗啦 ，Felicia 就係我哋今日嘅應邀嘅第一位嘉賓。咁咧，佢就嚟自 MGV Innovation 嘅公司，咁裏邊咧主要咧係做好多 interactive solution。Good morning, Felicia. How are you? No, you get several amazing interactive solution for us today, right? Are you ready to share?
I'm ready, hopefully.
Okay, I pass you. Okay, your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Luke. So good morning, everyone. As Luke mentioned, my name is Felicia. And as he mentioned, I am an English speaker. So hopefully it's not too early for English for everyone. But so let me share my screen so that you can see. So this morning, we're going to start with something that we call technological tools. And with this one, before we start, I wanted to see if you guys have heard some of these technological terms before, say things like dev art, things like artificial intelligence, interactive technology, or anamorphic illusions technology. I'm wondering, have any of you heard of these terms before? If you have heard of these terms before, can you just type a quick yes in the chat box? Okay. So, some of you have heard of these terms before, but, for the rest of you that haven't heard of these terms before or doesn't know what it means, today we'll be covering regarding these topics, things like interactive technology. We'll be talking about what they are. We'll be looking at some videos and samples of cases that are using this technology in nowadays. Okay, so let's start. So first, being interactive technology. So what is interactive technology? So as you can see on the screen, technologies that are created and developed for real-time application with a focus on user input and environmental sensing. So as you can see here, there are three main aspects of interactive technology, which is first being the technology itself. Technology comes in many different types. It can be things that are completely digital, like web services or desktop application, mobile application, or it can also be something that have analog components, like things that have things like buttons or sliders or digital panels. So that is the technology aspect of it. The second aspect of it would be the real-time application. So there's this term called rendering, and I'm not sure if you guys have heard of this term before, but if you have, basically what it does is, specifically in field like motion graphics animation or 3D animation, they have this process called rendering, where what happened is that after you make changes to a certain file or after you make changes to a certain project, in order for you to see the final outcome and the final format of that changes, you have to go through a rendering process. And sometimes it takes a couple hours, sometimes it takes up to days, depending on how complex and depending on how big the file is and how long the duration of the animation is. But what's different with interactive technology is the real-time applications of it, which means there is no delay between user input and the final input itself. So the moment an input is made, the render time is basically as fast as the input is made. So once the input is made, then the guests or the users are able to see the effect or see the changes that is made immediately in real time. So that is the second aspect of interactive technology. And then the third and final part would be the user input part, which is going to be the interaction between, what makes the input, which in most cases will be human. I hope you agree. But on the other side would be the installation itself. And so without this user input, we can have, as wonderful, as amazing as a graphical output is going to be, but if there's no user input, then there isn't that interaction and there isn't going to be that that kind of crossover and effect happening on the interactive technology. So those are the three aspects of interactive technology and what it is, right? So moving on, we're going to be talking about types of interactive technology. So with the different types of interactive technologies, you can see here, these are just some of them. There are even more out there, but today I'm just going to be talking about 4 that I think would be more applicable. So first being the gestural technologies. I think this is one of the most used technology in interactive technology. So this would be things that use sensors like, say, Microsoft Kinect, where you can literally detect an entire skeletal system, so say you move your whole body, the sensor will be able to detect it. And then we also have things like just regular traditional cameras that are paired with amazing programming nowadays, can even detect, your face. They can detect facial features. They can detect, even a whole human being. So that is the second one. And then things like lip motion sensors, where it can detect your entire hand movement. So, each specific fingers, whether you're pointing out 2-finger or 3-finger, lip motion sensor would be able to sense that. And then last being infrared lasers. So the second type is the spatial and environmental sensors. So this would be things that, active or passive sensors for elements such as temperature, movement, and sound levels. And then the third type is physical interface. So this is basically, things like your remote controls at home, or, some in-wall control panel, like the ones, say you go to like a 4 or 5-star hotels, you'll be able to see this in-wall control panels that control multiple things, say, like the window curtain, the lights, that would be what in-wall control panels would be. And then, nowadays, even regular physical objects or surfaces, using sensors like, infrared laser that I mentioned earlier, can be turned into a physical interface. Say you have a wall, and then you use an infrared sensor in the wall, right? You can convert the whole entire physical wall and make it into a touchscreen display, basically. So that is physical interface. And then the last part being computer hardware. And that will be things like wearable computer, microcontrollers, and Raspberry Pi. So after going through and understanding what interactive technology is and the types of interactive technology, let's look at a couple of samples of work, some sample cases of interactive technology being used in in modern days nowadays. So this one is actually a case done by MGB team, And this one is, we created a digital playground. And with this digital playground, you have things like interactive projection. As you can see, the aquarium is an interactive projection. And we also have an interactive sand pit where using depth sensor, we're able to sense how deep the kids have dug the sand. And then we'll be able to create an interaction. So as if, they found a treasure while they're digging the sand. And also things like AR experience, they can be interacting with digital animals on screen. And we have tangram projection mapping, where we project colors and shapes directly onto the puzzles using shape recognition. And this one is also quite interesting. We put a floor sensor where people will be able, where the sensor will be able to determine, how fast the kids are running, how many steps have been taken. And then also we have live VR painting. And this next case is a case done by Nescafe, where they use a gesture sensor to be able to determine the position of the people. And this one also uses a gesture sensor where the output, which is this graphical effect, happens according to the gesture that is being made by the guest. And as you can see, the effect is real time. And this one, I'm sure you've seen before, would be a case that is done by TeamLab. And as I'm sure you know, TeamLab is one of the most interactive, the most famous interactive designer, I would say, in the world. And again, they use things like color sensor, they use things like shape sensor to be able to determine and to be able to create the interaction between input and also the output. Okay, so that is interactive technology. So moving on to the next part, and that is going to be web AR. I'm sure that augmented reality itself, it's not going to be a foreign term for most of you. It has been around for quite a long time, but lately, what has been the biggest buzzword is web AR. So AR is an interactive experience of real world environment with objects that reside in the real world that are enhanced by computer-generated perceptual information. So what this is basically is, say there is a single box, single plain box in your room, right? What AR does to it is that once you scan that box using the AR technology, you'll be able to do things like, cover the whole box with a pattern, as if putting a wrapping onto the box. Or say, you can put an actual animation of a monkey jumping out of the box. So, it enhances that physical object that is actually in real life with digital elements and making the whole experience a much more interactive and interesting and even immersive experience. So what is web AR then, compared to AR? So basically, as the name suggests, web AR is a web-based augmented reality technology that allows users to access and enjoy this AR experience directly from their phones, which means, there's no additional downloads necessary, unlike the app-based counterpart, which is the app AR. And why then has web AR been the buzzword lately? Because again, surely you guys agree, getting our customers, getting our clients to download an app is no easy task. It's not easy. It's really hard for some reason. Not sure why. It's just a click of a button, but it's really hard. And there's actually been research that shows that whenever a download is necessary, whenever somebody has to go through a download, there's a 50% drop in engagement. That is a huge number. And and even after that 50% drop in engagement, only 25% of those 50% will actually use the app beyond the first interactions. You basically cut the whole interaction by 1/8 only. And that is, again, a really big number. So that is why web AR has been really useful for a lot of marketers, because that allows for this AR interaction, for this AR experience without the hindrance of going through a download. Another reason would be compatibility, across different operating system, across different devices. Even though with the latest advancement, this compatibility issue has not been that huge of a factor anymore. But I think that is still something that is again an issue, and that is a hindrance for for app-based AR. And with the broad accessibility of web AR, that means that web AR, by nature, reaches twice as many mobile devices as its app-based counterpart. So that is why web AR, again, as mentioned, has been the buzzword lately. For the past couple of years, that has been kind of the experience that a lot of brands are wanting to share out there to their clients and to their customers to enjoy, because it's something that is fun, something that is interactive, but something that is that doesn't have to go through the hassle of a download. So again, let's go through some cases of web AR to see, how it's being used. So this first one is actually done by Audi, the brand. And, once you scan the room with your mobile device, you're able to create this, really realistic and immersive 3D track in your, wherever you're staying, in your living room, and interact with it. And the second one is something as traditional as a magazine, right? Magazine ad, but then you can add this layer of interactive activity and make this whole experience much more immersive, much more informative, and you can see how much richer the user experience of this is, rather than just a regular magazine printout. And then this one is also really interesting. It's an AR virtual event. So instead of going to an event or just a Zoom event, you're able to actually attend a virtual event using augmented reality in the comfort of wherever you're living. And this sample is done by Coca-Cola, an AR that is using their own product itself. So you're able to scan the product, and then you're also able to see kind of the interaction, the story that is interacting and animated in real life, and then you'll be able to see it interact with the product. And this one is done by Amazon, where they use their own shipping boxes, and then they let people customize it, and then they generate a 3D rendering of this Halloween pumpkin directly in your phone, and then they're able to kind of see their artwork comes to life almost. And this one, I think, is one of the most interesting ones, where you can put an entire immersive portal wherever you are. And then, you're able to actually walk inside to this portal, and you're able to experience this, really immersive experience just using your web browser. And you're even able to interact with the things that are inside this portal. So, you can see how the usage and how this web AR can be used in very different ways, in very different formats, and how it can be experienced in many, many different ways. Okay, so moving on. Next, dev and AI artwork. So I think I would say this is probably one of the newest term that even I learned recently. Dev artwork, AI artwork. There has been an amazing advancements, I would say, this past couple of years, especially to AI artwork. And so before we go into it, and before any of you fall asleep, I'd want to play a little bit of a game. So with this game, right, all I need you to do is just, quickly open up the chat room, and then I'm going to be showing you a series of images where I want you to guess which of these images are done by AI. Because, that's how I want to show you how good of an advancement the AI artwork has had. So first image, here you go. Let's see. So this image on the left is A, and then on the right is B. All I want you to do is just quickly type in the chat box, which one do you think is done by an AI? Is it A or is it B? Let's see. Okay, I'm glad you guys are not asleep yet. I'm seeing answers. Okay, so we have a lot of A's, yes. Some B, mostly A. Okay, I'm gonna give you last 5 seconds to answer. Some B, okay. Okay, well, the answer is B. So B is actually done by an AI. Isn't that amazing? When I first saw that image, even I couldn't tell. I was like, wow, mind blown. Like there isn't really a distinctive marker to tell like, oh, that one is definitely done by an AI. Okay, we have two more sets, okay? this next one is a digital illustration that is done, one again by AI and one by human. Let's see if you guys can guess which one is done by AI. Is it C or is it D? Both are digital illustration. Okay, we have a lot of D's, some C, a lot of D's. Okay, let's wait for about 5 more seconds. Okay, some C's appearing. Again, more D's. Okay, another shock. The answer is C. So, going back to the slide, both look breathtaking and amazing. And, both digital illustration, you wouldn't be able to tell, which one is done by an AI. And, just so you know, all these images that I'm showing you are actually autonomously done by AI, which means there's no human involvement in the creation of the artwork itself. Isn't that crazy? Exactly. How do you tell the difference? I don't even know. And then this last one is an actual human portrait, one done by an AI and one done by a human. Let's see which one is done by AI. Is it E or is it F? Which one is done by AI? Let's check. So we have F, we have E, we have some F. Oh, this one is quite balanced now, the answer. It's like E, F, F, E, F, F, E, F. Okay, another 5 seconds for the answer. Okay, some E, some F, quite balanced for this one. So the answer is actually E. E is done by an AI and F is done by a human. Again, knowing how much an AI can understand the facial feature of a person, and literally draw it out. That to me, Jordan, you guessed all wrong. Yeah, but again, even I wasn't able to really see how, how it is, like Gary was asking just now, like, how do you tell? Like, how do you tell the difference? Like, you cannot even tell. That's how good of an advancement, I believe, AI technology has made. All these deep neural networks are being trained to be able to create images that are so beautiful and so realistic. Okay, so, after that test, after that little game, let's dive into what is deaf art? What is AI art? Okay, so deaf art is art that is made with programming by developers that push the possibilities of creativity and technology. I don't know if you know this, but there has been a, decade, if not maybe hundreds of years long decade between the world of programmers and designers. So for the longest time, there's always this term where you say, you do not ask a programmer to design and you do not ask a designer to code because of how different the way a programmer and how a designer thinks. There's always been kind of this joke that, programmers and designer can never get along. They cannot even talk to each other because they just don't understand each other. So that is what I find funny with deaf art, because what deaf art basically does, right, is basically bridging the two worlds, the world of programming and creativity, the world of designing itself. This would be people that have to think both like a programmer and like a designer, both like an artist and both like a technical coder. So instead of the regular things like, pen and paper or canvas and oil paint, these people use technology as their canvas, and then they use code as the raw materials to create this wonderful and innovative, engaging digital art installation. So that is what deaf art is. Instead of creating and literally drawing a piece of art, what you do is you program this art to appear instead of just drawing it out. So, what about AI art? Just like the one I showed you earlier. So AI artwork is created with this as with the assistance of AI. Again, as mentioned, it can be work that is done either individually, autonomously by AI system, or a collaboration between human and AI system. All the pictures I showed you earlier is done autonomously by AI system. No human collaboration was involved. So again, like I mentioned, that shows just how amazing the advancements has been made in AI art. And so, after understanding what dev art and what AI art is, let's look again at more sample cases of these specific technologies being used. Okay, so this first one is called Quantum Memories. It's done by Rafik Anadol, and this one actually holds around more than 200 million images that are publicly available online of things like landscapes, clouds, nature, the ocean, and then using that, and then with the collaboration of the artist itself, generates that artwork. And this one is another one done by our team at MGV, where we created this dev art. And you can see that at the moment, the wall or the floor is being touched or being stepped on, the user input itself, a real-time effect comes out, and you'll be able to see this wonderful effect, graphical effects come on screen. And again, no render process. And then this next one is Digital Art Fair. We're really glad to be a part of Digital Art Fair last year. But this specific artwork, again, is done by Rafik Anadol, and this is called Machine Hallucination. I mean, just how mesmerizing is this this display? And this last one is done by a group of developers commissioned by Google, and this is actually called Playful Geometry. And what happened is that they've created this system where you're able to immediately create a graphical animation with just this simple app, and again, without any render time needed. So that is dev artwork and AI artwork. Okay, so finally, we're moving on to anamorphic illusion technology. This is, to me, this is a little too long of a word and too early in the morning to say this word. But, what is anamorphic illusions technology? So anamorphic illusions technology comes from the concept of anamorphosis. As you can see, it's basically a distorted graphical projection that requires the viewer to occupy a specific vantage point to view a recognizable image. So as you can see here, the image on the left, it's the wave that is one of the most viral, and actually I feel like it's the biggest digital anamorphic illusion that is available out there for quite a number of years. And what the anamorphic illusion technology means is basically the combination of using advanced display technology and this anamorphosis concept, and also amazing 3D rendering effect. So the combination of those three creates this anamorphic illusions technology. And what happens is that you get this really realistic and this very vivid feel. And you would honestly, when you see this at a specific vantage point, it really gives the viewer a visual shock, to be honest. So to understand a little bit about anamorphosis, right, I have this image that you can see here. I mean, if you see here, this is just like a scattered, sporadic balls hanging on a thread, doesn't really show anything, looks almost abstract. But what you don't know, actually, with using anamorphosis or anamorphic illusion, what happened is that the artist actually chose this specific location and chose this specific level to put the balls, because they are going to form this wonderful image, which is actually a halftone graphic of the shape of an eye. So, like I mentioned, at a specific vantage point, this concept creates a wonderful artwork that, you wouldn't be able to see from other specific vantage point. So to see this anamorphic illusions technology sample, another one by our team at MGV. This one is a recent project that we did for a shopping mall in Hong Kong, where we created this perspective bending projection, where you see, almost feels like the character is actually standing on the shelf, is actually standing on the floor, but it's actually just a flat image that is projected on the floor. But at a specific angle, when you see it, it looks very realistic. Another one done by our team also. This is just one single LED wall that is actually what we wanted to do is we want to create this animation to make it feel like there's a sense of 3D box, 3D depth into this animation, to make you believe that it's not just a flat wall, but it's, it's as if there is this hidden room inside it. And this one is the image that I was sharing just now, which is the wave that is in SM Town, Korea. It's one of the biggest public media art at that moment, where there's this almost transparent like box with filth constantly crashing. I mean, just how breathtaking is that view? You can see, just done by A2 Wall. And this one is another one that I find to be very interesting and very smartly done. As you can see, that the curved display here, right, is actually the real edge. But then, the 3D designer created this fake edge using a shape inside it. And it really feels like, the cat is floating out of the LED wall. And that is how the anamorphosis is used in this specific 3D rendering, and it makes the whole thing much more interesting. So, whether we like it or not, the pandemic changed the way that we live. The pandemic changed the way that people live, the way that people work, the way that businesses strategize. And I believe that by incorporating and by including technology, especially the ones that are really suitable for your business and brands, can really help you strategize better to capture the post-pandemic market rebound. Thank you. If you have any questions, feel free to just jot it in the Q&A.
Yes, thank you, Felicia. Thank you very much. OK， 多謝晒先啊。咁咧，我哋由 CNN 又要翻嚟香港台啦。咁就我哋仲有時間 Q&A 嘅。Felicia 會 stay behind。哇 ，amazing！ 咁嚟緊事不宜遲，我哋其實有第2位講者嚇。不過頭先我都睇啲 computer graphics 啊、illustration 睇到目不暇給，自己都唔想停落去。第2位講者先介紹下佢先。咁我多年老友啦嚇，咁咧就聽講咧佢喺 marketing 啦、technology 啦，係好多 branding 上面好多經驗。不過我啱啱知道，佢話佢自己把中文聲都幾好聽喎。咁我哋不如就聽下啦，好嘛？我交嚟緊嘅時間咧，俾阿 Jordan 咧就嚟自 Maxa， 係Executive Director Maxa 啦，就係一間全方位嘅廣告公司。不過佢今日咧唔係講傳統嘅廣告，講帶領我哋進入呢個元宇宙嘅空間，講而家叫做喺浪尖嘅話題咯 ，Jordan 嚇講 NFT 有關嘅嘢。咁我交時間俾阿 Jordan 先 ，OK。
好啊，唔該晒啊 ，Luke， thank you Felicia。我要 share 個 screen 啊，thank you。好 ，OK。頭先啊 Felicia 嘅分享好精彩啊，又係咁我本來都諗緊用英文嘅，不過我驚到我講英文咧，我實講到嘅，大家聽唔到啫。咁但係咧多謝大家嘅時間啊。咁其實我諗今日嘅主題係Post-Pandemic 啦。咁我諗而家個社會狀態或者我哋香港嘅情況就係我相信都慢慢去回復正常啦。咁會要回復嘅都會回復嘅。咁我諗啊 Felicia 佢分享嘅好多嘅 interactive 嘅 technology 可以應用喺好多，即係我諗而家多啲市民多啲朋友去出街啦。咁我諗喺 event 啊，喺一啲唔同嘅場景咧，其實係好適合嘅。咁呢啲係馬上即係現有都可以去 apply 嘅一啲嘅 technology。咁我以下落嚟去分享嘅，即係因為其實係講一啲新啲嘅話題啦。咁但係其實對於我諗 marketing 界或者技術界嚟講咧，其實呢個絕對已經唔係一個新嘅話題㗎啦，已經醖釀咗好幾年嘅時間㗎啦。咁我就轉翻中文啊，咁講得比較順暢啲。咁我講之前咧，我先戴咗個頭盔，因為今日我哋其實個 topic 係講希望將即係 NFT 去分享下俾特別係而家可能係做緊 marketing 嘅朋友啦，或者大家係接觸緊究竟呢個 technology 點樣去作為一個 marketing 嘅工具嘅。咁如果大家係反而希望可以聽啲好技術嘅嘢啦，咁今日應該未去到咁深嘅。雖然我本身嘅 background 咧係即係做廣告啊，做 marketing 嘅，咁我都可以講少少。咁但係今日咧其實唔係講啲好深奧嘅嘢。每一版 slide 大家都係聽得明嘅。 嘅，我哋亦都會調整咗，令到大家係盡量聽得明。咁簡單去講啦，今日我哋其實講 NFT 係咩咧？咁 before 我講 NFT 嘅時候，都要講少少佢嘅背景嘅。其實 NFT 咧，其實佢係由一個叫做 blockchain 嘅技術出發嘅。咁呢個 blockchain 係乜嘢嚟咧？咁我就嘗試咧用咗一個比喻去講解下究竟佢係咩嚟。咁假設咧，我哋嘅 blockchain 咧，好似一個 software programming 嘅技術咁樣，咁傳統啦，即係我哋由左手邊去睇起啦，即係傳統就我哋面對 software，咁我哋以前都係 software 啊嘛，我哋用開嘅Microsoft Word 又好，或者 Photoshop 又好咁其實佢係一個每一次咧我哋要用嘅時候，我要裝咗落你部電腦度，每一次有 update 嘅時候咧，你都係 either 你要 download 翻啦，買隻碟啦，咩都好啦，你要裝翻落嚟個電腦度做更新嘅。咁而家我哋比較流行嘅呢個年代咧，我哋就用 web application 啦。咁透過呢個 web 2.0嘅年代啦其實我哋又有 cloud 嘅 solution 啦。咁所以我哋嘅大量嘅應用，而家好多嘢咧，我咧 online 做得到嘅。咁大家會望如果我放 Facebook 喺度嘅啦，咁其實佢某程度上都係個 application。咁 Facebook update 佢需唔需要你哋裝翻喺電腦度都唔需要，其實你 refresh 下個 browser 就得㗎啦。咁甚至我哋而家都經常大量喺工作上會使用嘅一啲 Google Doc Google Spreadsheet 呢一類型嘅 web application， 其實佢都係咧 update 嘅時候唔需要你唔需要安裝，佢即時可以做得到但係佢都有一種概念就係 server and client 嘅概念。好，但係去到 blockchain 嘅年代咧，其實佢就係一個新嘅概念。其實佢裏邊有一個好重要嘅名詞嘅，咁下一版我會講嘅就係但係咧其實佢咧就係呢啲好 software 嘅 development 嘅技術咧，其實佢就係咧由多喺呢個網絡上邊多部嘅 device、多部嘅電腦、手機咩都好啦，其實佢哋共同去儲存，共同去處理一啲嘅運算嘅。咁所以咧，其實佢咧每一次 update 咧，其實佢唔需要通知任何人，因為佢本身個機制就係每一次 update 都會通知晒個網絡上邊所有嘅人，咁大家就同時 update 嘅。咁所以呢個技術有呢個特點，點解要講呢個特點咧？翻嚟啦，其實因為咧，再講翻個層次 ，blockchain 咧其實都屬於我哋喺呢個網絡嘅年代嘅 Web 3.0嘅一個即係其中一種嘅技術。咁而呢種技術咧，有一個特色嘅，就係佢叫做 decentralization， 就係去中心化啦。咁去中心化對我哋嚟講有一個都幾重要嘅，因為呢個特色我哋認知咗咧。對於我哋去將來我哋去策劃一啲 NFT 嘅一啲嘅 project 咧，其實係好有用嘅。好啦，咁 before 我真係真正進入下我開場白，我都驚，因為頭先管理人咧就話俾我聽，我得15分鐘啫，所以我要講嘢咧就講得好快啦。咁咧 NFT 除咗我講 NFT 之前咧，我哋有兩個部分咧，我哋係一定要認知嘅。咁第一個部分咧就係喺呢個 blockchain 嘅世界呢個區塊鏈嘅世界咧，我哋仲有一樣嘢，除咗一個 NFT 之外咧，我哋就首先咧，我哋有貨幣所以我哋有 cryptocurrency。咁另外咧，由 blockchain 嘅技術都演化咗咧，就係一個叫做DApp 啦或者我哋叫做 decentralized app 啦。咁一啲嘅應用，即係由呢個 programming 嘅技術去演變成為一啲嘅 application， 咁只不過咧，因為佢係屬於去中心化啊嘛，所以我哋叫 DApp。咁我見到我咧就 DApp 咧，我用咗另一個顏色。咁點解咧？因為我後邊講嘅呢幾樣嘢咧，都同 DApp 好有關嘅。咁第一個咧就係其實有一啲人咧，又有啲朋友咧，佢已經利用呢個 blockchain 嘅方法去寫一啲技術咧，係促進我哋喺應用喺呢個 cryptocurrency 裏邊嘅一啲金融工具或者理財工具。咁另外一部分咧就係大家都近來都聽好多嘅，就關於 Metaverse 元宇宙啦。咁咧其實佢都係屬於衍生喺 DApp 嘅其中一樣嘢。咁而我哋一陣間會馬上進入嘅呢個 NFT 嘅話題裏邊咧，咁我哋咧其實都而家咧已經衍生咗好多即係嘅一啲嘅應用咧，其實包括一啲用 game 嘅開始啦，即係而家有一啲遊戲可能係我哋 pay to earn， 我哋喺玩嘅過程裏邊會賺取一啲收入嘅，甚至已經有一啲嘅 app 係行緊呢個叫 social fine，咁即係話用社交媒體嘅工具，當然就唔係 Facebook 啦，Facebook 聽聞佢都會向呢個方向發展嘅，咁。所以 NFT 喺呢個中間有啲咩作用咧？其實就係當我哋左邊 我哋有錢右邊我哋有一啲工具同埋甚至元宇宙，就係一啲場地。咁我哋需要有啲物件，嗰啲物件可能係一間屋，可能係一幅畫，可能係我哋進入元宇宙着上身嘅嗰套衫。咁呢啲其實都屬於 NFT 嘅範圍嚇。咁所以我哋大概有呢個 picture 基礎呢個嘅對於 blockchain 呢個世界新嘅 technology 圍繞住呢樣嘢。咁我擺咗 NFT 喺中間就證明，即係其實佢有一個好重要嘅作用。好啦，咁before 即係我好似講開場白講咗好耐，咁我今日咧我會爭取時間咧，盡量講快啲嘅。平時我開場白1個鐘嘅，咁但係今日我哋用咗幾分鐘啫嚇。咁before我講NFT 咧，其實都近來可能大家都會聽好多啦，就係關於元宇宙嘅嘢啦。除咗 Facebook 話佢改咗名叫 Meta， 除咗話佢向住呢個元宇宙發展之外咧，其實咧可能喺坊間上邊已經有大家好多嘅討論。咁但係我用一句簡單嘅説話去講下先。其實元宇宙咧，其實未來嘅世界應該佢係一個地方。呢個地方咧，佢 suppose 咧有自己嘅一啲規矩，有自己嘅一啲嘅運作嘅原則，甚至佢有自己嘅法律嚇。我哋喺上邊可以玩啦，可以工作啦，可以得到entertainment 啦，甚至做一啲社交嘅行為都可以喺上面發生。咁暫時咧嚇，我哋喺個社會上邊啦，即係喺個網絡上邊比較流行嘅兩個所謂比較具體嘅 NFT 概念咧，就係第一個咧叫 sandbox 啦。咁其實佢而家呢一刻咧，其實佢都我嘅揾到個數據啊，1月份嘅公佈，其實佢都係200萬到嘅 user 啊。咁但係其實佢每個月嘅 active user 已經有30幾萬㗎啦。咁另外一個咧叫做 Decentraland。咁我揾到個數據已經係上年嘅12月㗎啦。咁就80萬嘅 user 啦。咁其實佢嘅 active user 都接近30萬嘅每一個月。咁其實有咩特色咧？因為其實話我入去 sandbox 啦，佢咪好似 Minecraft 咁咯。咁你如果從遊戲嘅角度咧，我諗可以咁理解。咁但係其實佢兩個基礎都係由 blockchain 去 develop 嘅，而且亦都具備一個去中心化嘅一個基礎。咁兩個嘅呢個我哋認識嘅元宇宙啊嚇，即係其實都係咧user 可以喺上邊咧自己去建立自己嘅一啲 building 啊、遊戲啊，甚至有啲 user 可以我設計咗某啲衫咧，可以擺翻落喺翻佢個世界裏邊去 trade 嘅，可以去買賣嘅咁樣。咁所以佢係一個咧多人貢獻嘅一個嘅場所嚇。咁講到 sandbox 啦，咁其實香港已經有好多呢啲新聞就話都聽過㗎啦，應該就係話匯豐又話會夥拍呢個 sandbox 買咗地啦，會進行一啲虛擬嘅銀行嘅服務，海洋公園甚至新世界嘅鄭志剛，咁佢都買咗好多地。咁當然即係而家好似仲未見到，咁但係呢個已經係未來。咁我諗作為 marketing 嘅大家咧，應該都會去諗下，未來有啲咩發生，我哋點樣去準備越嚟越多嘅 user 佢會投入喺呢啲嘅場地裏邊去玩，去 experience。咁我哋有啲乜嘢可以提供翻俾佢哋咧？咁樣好啦，咁終於翻去呢個話題啦，就係 NFT 啦。今日嘅主題NFT 啦，咁其實佢就叫做 non-fungible token 啦，咁我哋叫做非同質化嘅代幣。講到咁呢個字好難明喎，講到代幣好弊下咁樣喎。咁但係咧，其實我哋用一個好簡單嘅方法咧，令到大家聽得明嘅。點樣分咧嚇？即係咩叫同質化咧？咁其實我哋特別會講 value。其實第一個例子一講完就明㗎啦，即係HMR 大家嘅積分喺你個 account 嗰個積分同喺我嘅 account 積分，某程度上嘅價值係一樣嘅。即係包括有即係我。雖然我哋如果從好技術性或者好 tangible 嘅角度去睇嗰件事咧，就係喂嗰啲有經你隻船去唔係經我喺 Shell 嗰度入，同我喺 iSock 嗰度入，梗係唔同啦，係咪？個名都唔同啦。咁但係入得到落你架車，行得到，佢價值係一樣嘅嚇。咁所以非同質化係咩咧？我哋最比較容易理解就係藝術品啦嚇。譬如我梵高嘅一張自畫像，咁嗰個忽得一張嘅啫，無論你臨摹幾多張都好，嗰啲都係複製品，咁每一張都係唔同咁買樓啦，咁買樓有咩？點解係 非同質啊。咁舉個例子，我哋喺同一個屋苑、同一座樓嘅同一個方向嘅17同18樓，咁17就係低價值啲咯。咁18樓就係高價值啲。咁我哋未講喺裏邊仔細去睇，或者如果你二手樓嘅裝修唔同嘅呢個區別咁其實佢就係同質化非同質嘅咁唔同嘅價值。咁鑽石啦，咁鑽石都係嘅。咁即係就算我話我哋大家都係一卡鑽石，大家都有張 GIA 嘅認證，咁但係佢就係唔同，因為裏邊嘅 clarity 有少少唔同啦。咁所以我哋用咁嘅簡單形式咧，大家應該可以理解即係同質或者非同質㗎啦。即係如果大家中間有啲咩可能都可以問定下，咁樣阿 Luke 會幫我哋去統計一下。好，咁NFT 啦，咁頭先講咗非同質啦，咁其實個非同質都仲有一啲特色嘅。咁大家即係佢唔可以被複製嘅咁佢係 one of only one 嘅咧。咁第二咧就係呢個好重要啦。我諗住作為 marketing 咧，我諗有一個呢個部分我哋可以去理解佢。第二點就係其實佢可以 trade 嘅每一個擁有呢個 NFT 嘅人，其實佢任何時候原則上佢係可以 trade 出去。咁第三咧就係我哋都要注意嘅就係，佢係可以有一啲 customization， 我哋可以喺製造呢個 NFT 嘅過程裏邊去 tailor-made 一啲嘢但係咧，當我鑄造咗我哋個術語叫鑄造啦 mint 啦鑄造咗呢個 NFT 之後咧，其實佢就唔可以分開㗎啦，佢就係 as a whole as a whole 咁樣嘅方式去 trade 或者去 transfer 咁第四咧，呢個亦都係一個好重要嘅價值，就係佢 trackable 佢係任何咧我哋叫擺得上去個 blockchain 嘅世界嘅一個 NFT 咧，其實咧我哋可以揾得到佢嘅來龍去脈。當我 trade 咗俾人，其實某程度上咧，我係會睇到呢個 NFT 由 A 呢個朋友轉咗俾 B 呢個朋友嘅。咁當然呢個 A 所謂 A 同 B 咧，係大部分嘅時間咧都係網名嚟嘅啫。咁我哋都未必知道 exactly 嗰個人嘅喺佢現實世界嘅姓名或者其他資料嘅除非嗰個人去特登去 show up 佢自己啫咁最尾呢個啦，咁我諗我哋亦都係可以去理解，即係話如果我哋當 NFT 當係一種物件不過雖然佢係虛擬嘅物件，但係其實佢整體嚟講咧，佢 transaction cost 咧係低嘅比起我哋譬如我而家要做一個 souvenir 我唔好話做 souvenir， 我而家起間屋咁樣，咁我起間屋嘅成本一定係好貴，而我哋做呢個 transaction 嘅成本都會好貴。咁但係喺 blockchain 嘅技術裏邊咧，去做呢啲 transaction 相對咧就係低成本。咁所以咧呢樣嘢就好適合我哋作為一種 marketing 嘅工具。特別係如果我哋品牌就我哋都面對一啲年輕嘅族群，或者我哋想喺呢個年代去彰顯我哋個品牌年輕化，或者進入一個新嘅時代咁呢個咧係俾到我哋一個好好嘅方法去參與或者去 present 嘅。咁 NFT 咧，即係話而家去到呢個 moment 都係一個名即係我哋知道有少少性質啦。咁但係事實上咧，即係佢嘅流行咧都有少少咁多歷史嘅。咁呢度部分我快少少啦。咁其實咧，我諗 back to 2年前啦，其實呢個 NFT 嘅技術咧已經係有5-6年嘅發展㗎啦。咁但係咧，即係我諗真正去進入即係大眾嘅眼球咧，其實咧第一個嘅新聞咧，我諗大概喺2年前啦就係有一個嘅digital artist 叫做 People 咁我諗喺 Instagram 會 share 好容易 search 到佢㗎啦。咁其實咧佢就同其中一間世界最大嘅拍賣行啦 Christie 啦，佢就合作啦，就將呢位朋友咧佢過去嘅5000日嘅 artwork 咧佢咧就係有呢個習慣或者佢由2007年開始咧已經有呢個習慣，就每日咧公佈一張 digital art。咁佢將呢5000個嘅 digital art 咧，將佢整合成為一張嘅artwork， 跟住咧就通過呢個 Christie 去拍賣啦。咁佢當時係拍賣咗6900幾萬嘅美金 咁但係當然啦，其實佢5000日即係佢用咗10幾年嘅時間，13年幾嘅時間啊，咁所以係好值得抵嘅嚇。咁但係咧，我諗係由一個咁高價值嘅首次嘅一個 digital art 嘅拍賣啦，進入咗大家眼球啊！咦 NFT 係咩嚟㗎？咁第二個啦嚇，即係有 Christie， 咁當然有蘇富比啦，咁即係我諗呢個大家應該會聽過多啲嘅就係王家衛啦，佢將譬如佢喺花樣年華嘅一個從未公開嘅片段啦嚇，當時係因為第一日嘅拍攝嚟嘅，但大家都喺度試戲嚇，你都知道佢冇劇本㗎嘛，大家喺度試戲嘅一啲片段，咁從未公開嘅片段，咁珍貴就拍賣咁樣，咁所以咧，我諗 NFT 呢樣嘢咧，就係第一次進入大家眼球嘅時候咧，就係藝術品佢就係一個藝術品嚟嘅，咁所以我哋好多時候我哋當初聽 NFT 嘅時候，咦佢係藝術品嚟嘅喎咁樣。咁而家咧即係我諗近呢1年嘅時間啦開始咧就係令到我哋咧開始去諗下，而家我哋其實喺 Facebook 又好Twitter 或者喺 IG 都好，成日都見到嘅 NFT 嘅廣告特別係我哋都揾好多呢啲資料嘅人咧，佢嘅乜 remarketing 就成日都追蹤我哋嘅就成日都見到一啲 NFT 嘅 program 即係一啲嘅 project。咁但係咧而家就開始演變咗咧，成為一啲collectible， 即係一啲收藏品咁比較出名嘅啫。我諗左邊同埋中間呢個咧就係一定要 call 噶啦，即係循例大家都見到熟到唔熟噶啦，就係即係其中咧2個即係叫做平均最高價值嘅 NFT 嘅 project 啦包括呢個 Bored Ape 嘅 Yacht Club 啦，咁Crypto Punks 啦，咁我哋唔可以評價佢嘅藝術，即係因為每個人有唔同嘅喜好，每個人去買呢啲嘅 NFT 都有佢唔同嘅原因，有啲人係真係中意佢嘅 artwork， 有啲人想收藏某一啲嘅 artwork， 甚至有一啲人係以炒賣嘅心態去進入呢個 NFT 嘅市場嘅。咁右邊呢個咧就係我諗都上個月嘅事啦咁余文樂嘅 project 嚟嘅，咁亦都係即係以我哋認識嘅，即係計周杰倫啦、陳冠希杜汶澤阿 Bob 好多唔同嘅人，佢哋都搞咗佢嘅 NFT project 之後咧，就佢都係算係一個比較成功，同埋佢嘅價值係都保持到一定嘅水平嘅。咁所以變咗而衍生咧，就係成為一個 collectible。咁但係今日咧，其實我哋真正要希望同大家分享嘅嘢咧，仲有啲咩咧？其實就係咧，其實 NFT 咧，佢本質上咧係一張 smart contract。佢其實就係利用咗 blockchain 嘅呢啲 programming 嘅技術咧，去將一啲唔同形式嘅檔案咧，將佢 encrypt 咗成為，或者我哋叫 mint 個字語，即係鑄造成為一個 NFT。咁呢個 NFT 咧，佢裏邊就有一啲嘅digitize 嘅一啲嘅條款喺裏邊嘅。咁所以佢本質係一個 smart contract。咁呢版咧用5秒講下咧，就其實唔同嘅平台咧都 support 一啲唔同嘅 format 嘅，咁但係原則上咧 NFT 應該係任何 format 嘅 file 你都可以將佢鑄造成為一個 NFT 嘅。咁比較即係我哋常見嘅就係影片啦，即係圖片啦、聲音啦，甚至 3D model 啦，唔同嘅 file size 啦，俾你做一個 reference 啫。咁但係事實上咧，我哋而家見到佢嘅應用可以有好多方面第一個方面咧就係可以成為一個 contract 啦，因為佢本身就係 smart contract 嘛，係咪？舉個例子即係我哋譬如即係我將來辦啲網絡課程，我除咗寄一張實體嘅證書俾佢，其實我可唔可以有一張 NFT 嘅證書我哋同某啲人合作，我哋又想呢一個合作變成一個喺呢個網絡世界或者全球地方都成為有約束性嘅一樣嘢咧，咁我哋可以探討下將佢變成一個 NFT 嘅 contract， 佢可以變成一個 ticketing， 因為其實我哋譬如將來搞一啲演唱會不管你係實體或者虛擬嘅其實都可以將佢變成一個 ticket 攞住呢個 NFT 嘅人，因為佢係中間係牽涉咗去用錢去交易㗎嘛，咁只不過個錢係虛擬貨幣咁佢咪可以變成門券咯佢可以成為，因為佢係一種認證啊嘛，咁佢咪作為一個 identity 一個身份嘅認證咯咁所以佢可以成為 membership。佢亦都可以，因為頭先有講啦，因為其實而家已經有好多個遊戲利用 blockchain 呢個技術去做嘅，咁佢可以成為一個我哋遊戲裏邊嘅 object。如果我哋做 marketing 嘅時候，近來好興sandbox 又開咗一個新嘅場地，有啲新嘅玩法，我哋可唔可以 create 一啲 game 嘅 object？變成佢哋嘅一啲嘅喺遊戲裏邊可以玩嘅，亦都係我有我品牌元素嘅一啲嘅嘢咧，咁樣咁甚至佢可以成為我哋一 pre-sale 嘅一啲工具嘅喎，即係譬如我哋某某波鞋特別嘅別注版啊，或者同某某藝術家聯成，咁咧我哋而家開賣嘅時候咧，就我哋以一個 NFT 嘅形式，我賣咗之後咧，你就可以憑咗 NFT 去係攞個實物。咁所以其實佢咧可以有好多嘅應用，咁我呢度咧只係一啲例子嚇，因為佢本質上咧，我頭先有講啦，佢本質上就係一個 smart contract。我哋從 marketing 嘅角度可以配合翻你哋嘅品牌，你哋嘅喺 marketing 嘅需要，可以將呢一種嘅應用咧，可以去擺落去利用個 NFT 去成為你嘅其中一種工具。咁我哋可以睇喺個 market 有啲乜嘢啦。咁其中一個咧就係Nike 嗰個啦，咁我諗我好似都熄咗個聲但係唔聲都唔緊要咁其實 Nike 咧，其實佢推咗一個叫 Mysterious NM， 即係類似 month 嘅一個讀法啦其實佢第一個咧即係Nike 嘅第一個嘅 NFT collectible 嘅 project。咁其實係咩咧？其實佢就同一個一班 artist 嘅 studio 啦 ，RTFKT 嘅 studio 啦，咁呢個 studio 好得意嘅，因為佢哋係專做一啲 virtual art 嘅，咁佢哋亦都咧就好多實驗性嘅 project 去做一啲波鞋嘅一啲設計，做一啲虛擬嘅波鞋Nike 咧就睇中咗佢哋咧，就同佢哋合作。咁其實咧就本身呢個 studio 佢都要同過好多唔同嘅人合作㗎啦，即係名字上大家熟悉嘅，包括村上隆啦咁樣。咁其實之前咧 before 佢同Nike 嘅合作，其實佢都曾經有一個 project 同另一個 artist 咧合作啦，都係raise 過一啲 funding 啦。咁其實Nike 呢個 project 咧，其實佢就喺一個好短嘅時間咧就賣晒而家其實喺 OpenSea 啫 ，OpenSea 係其中一個 NFT 即係最 popular 嘅一個 trading 嘅平台啦。咁大家都可以去睇一睇去理解下。咁我一陣間先至再綜合去講下，究竟呢啲品牌點解去用 NFT， 或者佢用 NFT達至幫佢呢個品牌做一啲咩 marketing 嘅目標咧咁樣。咁當然對於 Nike 嚟講，就係因為其實佢都經常同唔同嘅 artist 去合作。我諗大家都知道佢除咗一個運動嘅品牌喺運動上邊佢都不斷研發一啲 technology， 但係事實上咧，其實佢咧都係會作為一種潮流嘅產品啦，作為一種喺個潮流界領先嘅一個角色啦，咁所以 that's why 其實佢哋都會不斷去揾一啲嘅唔同嘅 party 去合作啦，咁樣。我應該冇乜時間㗎，我會盡快講啦。好，咁第二個咧就係我諗近來都會比較留意到嘅就係 Adidas 佢呢個合作啦。咁我錄一錄條片嘅時候都講一講其實我諗Adidas 同 Nike 就係一個 head-to-head 嘅 competitor 啦，咁大家其實都係喺運動嘅 technology 去研究，同時其實佢都係做緊潮流。咁我諗攞運動品牌係一個幾好嘅example，因為其實運動品牌而家咧喺我哋嘅不管係工作場所生活做運動潮流，佢都已經涉獵㗎啦。咁所以我哋都可以攞佢一個例子，因為其實咧佢咧今次嘅合作嘅其中一個單位就係我哋頭先講嘅一個 collectible 裏邊好高價值嘅一個波 app 嘅合作單位啦咁佢哋亦都係真係1分鐘就賣晒㗎啦，raise 咗23個 mil 嘅錢啦咁我諗錢對佢嚟講唔係最重要嘅成果咁但係對於大家 marketer 嚟講咧，其實可以考慮，我哋將來會唔會有一啲 project 向大眾去 raise 個 fund， 其實個 fund 咧未必係你即刻袋落袋嘅，愛嚟擺翻喺你嚟緊個產品嘅研發或者作為呢種嘅宣傳形式去出現咁其實係可以達到呢個目標嘅 咁現時其實佢喺 OpenSea 咧都可以揾到呢個 project 嘅。咁其實呢一個咧，其實佢除咗一個即係一個即係 NFT 之外咧，其實佢買咗呢個 NFT 嘅人咧，其實佢都可以得到一個實體嘅呢個一啲嘅譬如佢嚟緊出呢個新嘅系列嘅一套 check 啊，即係一啲嘅實質嘅產品。咁所以咧，其實咧佢係有推動我哋嘅實體產品或者我哋實體嘅業務嘅一種功能嘅。咁啊，另外就係其實佢買咗個 NFT， 其實佢未來都可以參加佢嚟緊會做嘅一個 virtual event 咁樣。好，咁最尾我都想 share 多一個 case 啦。咁呢個 case 咧，其實佢未實質推行嘅，佢係講咗出去喺個市場上有呢個 news 啊，就係Starbucks 啦。咁 Starbucks 咧，佢哋咧就會宣布咗佢哋咧就會進入呢個元宇宙。咁咧如無意外啊嘅，因為佢暫時嘅公佈嘅資料咧都唔係好多嘅啫。咁但係咧佢哋會喺元宇宙裏邊咧去開展一啲嘅 activity。咁呢啲 activity 咧，市場嘅估計係咩咧？就係包括就係話佢可能係佢哋做得好好嘅一啲嘅 CRM 嘅嘢咯，啲 program 嘅嘢，佢會唔會喺元宇宙裏邊去延伸啦？咁啊，第二樣嘢就係佢可能會變成一啲嘅 membership 啦，即係攞住呢個 NFT 就代替咗佢哋嘅一個 membership card 啦。咁第三就可能即係從另一個層面就作為一個品牌去 project 一個比較獨特嘅 digital experience 啦，咁樣。咁啊，最尾就係可能呢個比較即係市場真係揣測啦，就係佢會唔會從呢個元宇宙嘅世界去希望得到多啲嘅 user 嘅一啲嘅佢哋嘅 behavior 啊，佢哋嘅數據作為一啲 insight 咧咁樣。咁我諗從呢以上幾個例子，因為其實市場上仲有好多好多例子嘅。咁啊，從以上呢個例子可以作為去睇睇就係，我哋 NFT 究竟可以幫我哋作為 marketing 有啲乜嘢嘅咧咁樣？咁頭先我哋講咗佢嘅性質可以變成好多唔同嘅應用，但係事實上咧，而家我哋睇到咧，暫時嘅 marketer 咧，佢哋做緊嘅第一就係作為一個品牌嘅延伸嚇。咁特別係譬如Nike 同 Adidas 嘅例子，我哋可以睇到就係我哋嘅品牌本身，我哋有一個方向都會係去接觸年輕嘅族群啦，或者係希望喺個 market 度作為一個 leader，我哋去 explore 一啲新嘅領域。咁所以咧，佢配合翻佢嘅品牌，佢就可以作為，如果我哋舉個例子啊，我哋咩都唔做，而家話我呢個品牌一個傳統嘅品牌搞一個 NFT project， 其實本身喺個 PR 上邊已經有一定嘅價值。咁呢個作為個品牌嘅形象嘅延伸係一個幾好嘅選擇。咁第二咧就係如果我哋譬如我哋演繹一啲我哋品牌嘅價值或者一啲 value 嘅時候，我哋需要通過一啲 experience 嘅。咁除咗用實體形式啊，實體可以揾阿 Felicia 去幫手啦，係嘛？咁如果我哋想喺虛擬世界，其實我哋都可以考慮即係Metaverse 或者 NFT 呢種形式去將我哋嘅品牌嘅一啲體驗，或者我哋 sell 緊嘅我哋一啲品牌嘅產品或者服務嘅一啲體驗，通過呢個 NFT 去延伸嘅，係好咁其實亦都呢個都比較直觀可以理解嘅，即係作為 marketer， 即係特別係我哋講緊 Post-Pandemic， 我哋希望做到一啲嘅促銷或者去促進到我哋嘅銷售嘅。我舉個例子，譬如如果我哋推出一啲產品，我哋有個特別版，或者我揾個明星代言，我哋有個明星嘅簽名版本咁樣，咁其實我哋可以通過呢個 NFT 啦，作為一個 token， 作為一種門券，去等啲 user 去率先去攞得到，或者去搶購。咁呢種好處係咩咧？其實我哋頭先有講啊，因為 NFT 咧其實佢係 tradable 嘅。任何時間、任何地點佢都可以 trade 嘅，因為佢係 online 啊嘛，係咪？咁呢個好處係咩咧？其實譬如好多嘅一啲潮流品牌咧，佢哋開賣之前咧，佢都有一啲叫做pre-registration 嘅動作嘅。甚至係iPhone 我哋都有 pre-registration 啦。咁假設我哋用呢一種形式，我哋可以收取少少嘅錢，令到我哋可以有呢一個pre-registration 或者 pre-sale 嘅一種模式，甚至呢種 pre-sale 模式咧，因為佢有 second market， 而呢種 second market 並唔係違法，佢唔係黃牛嚟嘅，因為個 NFT 就係可以 trade 得到嘅。咁當我擺上去任其他人 trade 嘅時候，佢衍生嘅價值就會變成我哋一個 marketing noise。咁呢個都係可以參考嘅嘢。咁啊，最後我 round up 一下，因為其實佢有好多唔同嘅範圍。咁啊，最後咧，我覺得可以俾 marketer 嘅一個 insight 就係話，其實我哋嘅產品或者服務係咪一定要係實體嘅？其實事實上我頭先講嘅Adidas 又好或者 Nike 又好，其實佢賣緊嘅嘢已經係一個 digital product 但係如果呢個 digital product， 當然頭先兩個 case 都係其實佢 digital product 咧，其實 Nike 個 case 比較特別啲添嘅，其實佢冇實體嘅產品去配合佢純係一個 digital product 咁呢個都可以俾大家一個參考，就係當我哋去諗我哋嘅品牌，其實我哋品牌係咪有能力可以做一啲 digital 嘅 product 咧？咁呢啲 digital product 同我哋嘅本身嘅業務究竟有冇得整合？有冇佢可以推動到我哋品牌，或者作為我哋嘅某一啲策略性嘅宣傳咧？咁我諗其實 NFT 佢呢種本質，因為佢喺未來嘅呢個 blockchain 嘅世界，佢就具備呢一種各種嘅特色啦嚇。頭先有講，即係佢可以唔可以被 copy 嘅啦，佢係 unique 嘅嘢。咁佢係可以 trade 嘅佢係 publicly 大家都會知道嘅一樣嘢。咁呢樣嘢對大家嚟講，究竟作為一個 marketer， 我哋點樣利用佢可以去衍生到我哋推動我哋嘅品牌、我哋嘅產品有一啲價值咧？咁頭先呢度所講嘅一啲方向咧，其實都係俾大家嘅參考。咁我諗咧，可能大家會好多疑問。咁NFT 裏邊確實有啲技術性嘅嘢，但係其實撇開個技術，佢呢個本質其實可以喺marketing 上邊咧大量嘅被應用嘅。咁我知同事都吹咗好多啦，咁我講咗好長嘅時間。咁今日咧就介紹咗 NFT 係一啲咩啦。咁如果大家有問題咧，可以多啲即係喺個chat room 裏面問啦，或者你想聽一啲咩話題，咁我哋之後同阿 Luke 商量下，會唔會可以再搞多一啲唔同嘅seminar，可能就住 NFT 嘅技術嘅一啲嘅 topic 都可以嘅。咁好，咁我今日多謝大家，咁我交翻個時間俾阿 Luke 啦。
好啊 ，Jordan， 唔該晒你啊 ，Felicia，thank you，but we don't leave us，OK？先嚟，哇！即刻有人問，可能因為 Jordan 你講得比較詳細啊，咁所以咧有人即刻問嘢喎，真係。
我經常都係講得比較詳。
係啊。咁咧，阿 Kate 問咗問題，咁都其實都係我心目中嘅問題嚟嘅喎。NFT 咧，即係而家都好多人提啦，我諗睇新聞一揭開都有啦。先唔談論仔細技術先，如果 otherwise 我哋5月嚟緊嘅 seminar 咧，個 webinar 咧又要可能講多啲 fine tune 嘅題目。不過先講下 as a marketer， 頭先你又講啲點樣應用啊，又或者如果真係應用係即係可能有啲基本 step 啦，我唔知可能要請教 Jordan 你開咩 account 啦，係咪點樣 deposit 啲錢啦？係 as marketing， 其實佢都要做啲 planning， 同埋我頭先聽好多 example 都唔好意思，都係大 brand 係咪？究竟我哋如果做呢個 NFT as marketing， 咁係入門檻係大概咩預算咩 budget 咧？有咩準備咧？呢度你幫手解答下。
好啊，咦？一嚟就問得好具體嘅問題喎，咁
多謝，
即係證明大家
真係
對呢樣嘢咧係好有興趣嘅。咁其實首先咧，其實佢喺技術上咧有一個好重要嘅問題嘅。我哋做一個 NFT 啊，我哋叫鑄咗 mint 一個 NFT 啊嚇。咁呢個 NFT 咧，佢要擺上去呢個 blockchain 裏邊。其實個 blockchain 頭先有講嘅啫，因為佢係一 update 啊，全世界都 update。咁所以其實咧。我哋以前就搞我哋要搞一個 campaign， 我要做一個 website， 咁我要揾個 server。咁但係咧，其實咧佢所有嘢咧，我哋就擺喺呢個區塊鏈上邊嘅。咁所以咧，其實咧擺上去咧係都有啲錢嘅喎。雖然佢話我呢個區塊鏈係咁多人擁有，咁 that's why 我頭先有講嘅時候，我特登要講就係佢其中一邊左手邊，大家要有一個印象嘅就係佢有 cryptocurrency。咁我諗對於好多公司嚟講，特別係我哋喺香港，我哋法例上邊都冇 冇認可過呢啲虛擬貨幣，咁點算咧？但唔怕，即係好多 marketing 嘅公司啊，包括我哋啦嚇，都會幫大家去處理呢啲嘢。咁如果marketer 係冇虛擬貨幣，咁其實我哋想做一啲 NFT project，我諗好多 marketing 嘅公司係可以幫到大家嘅。咁但係同時咧嚇，即係我諗第一，我哋需要有如果真係要做一個 NFT project，咁可能真係要揾一啲專業嘅同事去討論下啦。我歡迎可以揾我嘅。咁即係我哋首先要講下，我哋 NFT 對於我哋嘅品牌究竟有啲乜嘢作用？咁現時咧，我見到已經有市場上好多朋友做緊嘅一樣嘢咧，就係我哋唔好做咁大先啦，我哋做啲細啲嘅咧，就係將 NFT 咧作為一種souvenir。咁我其實見過已經有好多嘅唔同嘅 NGO 啦，佢哋都有做一類似咁嘅嘢，就希望就俾一個虛擬嘅紀念品。咁而因為呢個紀念品係unique 嘅，咁可以從呢個着手嘅。咁我哋先有個規劃，即係我有一個 planning。咁我點解要做呢個 NFT？咁你嘅 NFT 可以推動到我哋實體嘅 marketing 嘅邊啲部分？好啦，咁我哋諗好咗呢件事啦，我哋就要 plan 下，我哋用咩形式去做呢個 NFT？譬如我哋係揾一啲 illustrator 同我哋去合作畫一啲公仔啊。我見過有啲品牌係佢將佢做嘅產品嘅設計，嗰個設計圖咧，佢到最終佢唔生產嘅，但係佢將呢個設計圖咧，每一個變成佢嘅 NFT 咧，就 unique 咁去作為一個買佢嘅一個產品嘅一個 souvenir。咁亦都有試過。咁我諗所以譬如我哋個形式啦，即係譬如我哋一張圖啦、一段片啦，甚至我見過有啲嘅creator 咧，其實佢係變咗佢一本書我嘅書將佢 mint 咗做 NFT， 咁我就會發行1000本咁樣舉例，咁大家就喺個上邊去交易。好，咁呢個咧就係個形式啦，我嘅 NFT 嘅形式。咁第三咧就係 NFT 點樣去推廣。咁其實推廣嘅部分咧，我諗對於 marketer 嚟講咧就唔難嘅，因為其實基礎咧我哋會用翻現有嘅 social media 啊，或者我其他嘅宣傳渠道。事實上我見過有 outdoor 嘅廣告咧去宣傳 NFT 嘅，咁所以用 any 嘅渠道。不過有一個好特別嘅地方咧，就係而家好多嘅 NFT project 咧，佢都會附帶咧有一個 community。咁而呢個 community 咧就利用咗一個叫 Discord 嘅工具。Discord 咧就我講一句啦嚇。Discord 原本咧就係俾啲 online 打機嘅朋友咧嘅一種溝通工具嚟嘅，因為佢咧除咗有 chat room 嘅功能咧，佢有 discussion board 嘅，佢可以喺裏邊開唔同嘅話題。跟住咧佢仲可以咧有一啲 robot 喺呢個 chat 呢個工具上邊咧，去同一啲 user 去做一啲互動。咁所以作為 marketer 咧，呢個部分我頭先嘅部分冇講過，咁但係呢個部分咧其實係一個好重要嘅部分，係咩咧？就係我哋過往用 Facebook， 我哋用IG 都好啦，我哋都叫 social media， 都叫互動啦。咁但係我作為如果大家都我諗應該大家都有溫過 Facebook page 啦，我出一個 post， 我都要等下啲 user like， 等下啲 user comment。但係而家啲香港嘅特別香港嘅 user 咧就好吝嗇打字嘅，comment 就好少嘅咁。但係咧 Discord 咧佢本身基礎就係我開完之後咧，大家就有去討論㗎啦。甚至咧就係我可以提早咧去 create 咗呢個 Discord 咧，我去養咗一班關注我個品牌、關注我呢個 NFT project 嘅 user 喺裏邊咧，我哋就可以達到我哋想要嘅一啲嘅互動。咁我諗呢個係重要嘅。好，咁但係如果你冇呢樣嘢，唔係唔可以做 NFT project。不過如果你我諗下長遠，我哋都希望喺呢個界別去吸納一啲想同我哋互動嘅 user， 可以係 Discord 啊。咁頭先又問有同事講有個朋友問 Discord， 我答咗佢 yes 係呢個名啊。咁大家可以上 search 下。咁我諗除咗咁之外啦，咁我哋要宣傳啦。咁喺個過程裏邊就有佢個運作。咁大家頭先有講到費用啊，咁其實咧 mint 嗰個過程咧，其實我講多少少technical 嘅嘢。其實所謂 blockchain 咧就係唔知大家有冇聽過啊？好多人咧就話我開起部電腦咧就裝好多個嗰啲 display 卡落去就掘礦。咁其實佢掘礦係啲咩行為咧？就係其實佢就係用緊佢嘅 CPU 嘅 power， 正確嚟講係 GPU 嘅 power， 即係佢嘅運算，佢部電腦嘅運算能力，去幫大家喺呢個 blockchain 裏邊去運算。咁所以咧，其實當我哋要 mint， 我要做任何嘅動作，包括我哋 crypto 嘅交易啦，即係我哋個虛擬貨幣嘅交易啦，我哋 mint 一個 NFT 啦，甚至我喺遊戲裏邊要進行某一啲動作，其實我都要利用到 blockchain 個技術。其實我都係喺個過程裏邊俾緊一啲我哋個術語就叫 gas fee， 即係嗰個嘅郵費啊 gas fee 啊嚇。咁呢個錢咧，其實就會俾翻嗰個貢獻咗佢嗰部電腦個運算能力嘅人嘅嚇。咁所以其實佢係有錢嘅。咁大概啦，而家叫 mint 一個嘅 NFT 咧，其實大概咧如果計翻港幣，我諗暫時50-60蚊啦嚇。咁如果我嗰個以唔同嘅虛擬貨幣佢繼續升值嘅話，可能會繼續會貴落去啦咁樣。咁如果我譬如我一個 project 我要搞1000個，咁呢個幾廿蚊咧就要乘1000㗎啦。咁當然啦，喺呢個過程裏邊，你需要揾technical partner， 即係去幫你去寫呢一個 smart contract 啦。咁你需要有人去幫你做宣傳啦。咁但係宣傳呢個部分，我諗大家會熟悉嗰個 budget， 我唔特別去計啦嚇。咁甚至話，譬如我哋要將我嘅 NFT， 希望將來咧譬如我有個會員證，我呢個會員證有價值嘅，我希望佢可以普通嘅 user 佢可以 trade 嘅話，我將佢擺喺個 OpenSea， 咁每一個我擺上去嘅時候，其實我都需要有啲相關嘅費用。咁呢個咧而家好難一次過講俾你聽具體就幾多啊？即係你可以由幾萬蚊到幾十萬都不等。即係舉個例子啊，譬如阿余文樂佢推出一個 NFT 有6666個嘅 NFT， 咁其實佢喺背後要製造啦，佢要mint啦，咁淨係mint嗰個錢咧，佢已經花咗幾廿萬㗎啦嚇。咁當然佢就賺啦，因為佢幾分鐘就賣晒啦嚇。咁所以我哋都要可以諗下，即係當我哋作為 marketer， 我哋去用呢樣嘢嘅時候，因為第一佢喺個話題裏邊嘅嚇，所以我諗 marketer 會有呢個觸覺，就係呢樣嘢值得做。咁但係咧，我哋要首先就係呢個 NFT 同我哋嘅品牌衍生咩價值，而我哋有冇辦法喺呢個 NFT 裏邊同我哋嘅實體業務衍生個價值？咁如果就咁講嘅嗰個，我今日冇辦法好具體講到個 budget 啦，咁可能就係幾萬去幾廿萬都不等嘅嚇。咁但係我頭先都講咗唔同嘅 step， 其實佢都有唔同嘅費用會產生嚇。如果我要揾一個 artist 或者揾一個 illustrator 合作，咁當我嗰度都會錢嘅嚇。咁大概係咁，我唔知道答唔答到大家問題啊？大家可以喺 chat room 嗰度。
Jordan 唔該晒，係啊，咁啊希望阿 Jordan 答到個 Kate 嘅問題啦。咁啊，不如我翻轉頭問一問，頭先阿 Jordan 都有講related to eCommerce 啦。咁咧頭先阿 Felicia 有 share。Felicia，how are you? Sorry, let you wait long 啊。Thanks for your sharing. So I give you a question about related to interactive solution to e-commerce for newcomers of the interactive technology. What kind of the technology or tools is most effective way or efficient tools to let them to join or enjoy such interactive technology? And also, is such interactive solutions good for e-commerce?
Okay, so for e-commerce, since most of all of the interactions are done online, right, on the web page itself, then I would suggest that web AR would be one of the easiest and one of the kind of the most interactive and direct way you can be adding value to the experience of your customers, because it's again done all on the web page also, so that really resonate with the nature of e-commerce. But if you are thinking of things like, say, increasing brand awareness or a physical event, then things like interactive technology, that would be very very useful and very memorable for the customers.
Yeah, thank you. So for following up this question, maybe I ask a request for Felicia and Jordan. is there any simple take-home tips for the audience today to let them to have an idea during the post-pandemic situation, how to apply your interactive technology? Jordan, 咁有咩 NFT 即刻可以幫到佢哋手喺呢個 post-pandemic 咧 ？Maybe Felicia first.
I think again, at the end of the day, the most important thing is what is the main thing that you want to achieve. Is it is it brand awareness? Is it customer interaction? Is it user experience? Is it you're just trying to inform your customers of your products and things like that? I think when you know what it is that you're trying to achieve, that's how you'll be able to determine which technology would be able to be of help. Because I truly think that it should go backwards in the sense that it should go from your final purpose, and then from there you move backwards to what are the technologies that are available, and what kind of partners you can find that can provide these types of technologies, to help you build something that can really be of a great experience for your users. Because I truly think that the technology part is the tools that can help you. So it should help you reach your goal. So again, move backwards from what your goal is, and then you can choose the technology from there.
Thank you, Felicia. Recently, it's a very hot topic about results oriented, 係嘛 ，Jordan？ 最近我哋講目標為本啦，新聞好多講呢個題目。
以目標為唔係以咩啊？以結果為目標。
以結果為目標係你正確啲，喺某啲方面講。俾啲 tips 大家啦，好嘛？如果你話 NFT 可能喺 for marketing 又好啦，頭先可能都你即刻答咗一啲少少技術性嘅問題。如果但係俾我哋啲中小企業啦，或者我哋可能而家都有一啲企業嘅老闆。喺呢個 post-pandemic 呢個環境，而家好翻少少嗬，即係可能有一個 hybrid 嘅冇咩 tip 咩 quick tips 俾佢哋咧嚇。
嗱，我諗其實第一即係近來媒體係非常關注，即係呢一啲譬如元宇宙啊、NFT 啊，亦都有好多新聞。我知道有啲媒體直頭開一個咁嘅 topic 㗎啦，一有咩新聞都會報導。咁我諗作為一個品牌，即係如果合適。貴品牌嘅話咧，其實你做一樣咁嘅嘢咧，第一已經攞到媒體嘅 exposure 㗎啦。咁但係實質頭先我都有講，即係如果我哋構思呢個 NFT 咧，即係因為其實 NFT 咧，其實佢並唔係一個好難嘅技術，雖然佢都係屬於 blockchain 或者我哋叫 Web3 嘅技術啦嚇。咁但係其實佢唔係一個好難嘅技術，反而重點就係我點樣去應用。即係 that's why 其實今日我嘅 presentation 比較多講就係唔係講個技術，而係我哋諗清楚我點樣去應用，因為應用恰宜嘅話咧，其實佢就可以達到即係推動你嘅品牌啦，推動你嘅銷售啦，甚至整合到你實體嘅業務。咁我知道譬如香港已經有啲做緊啊，好似話有個便利店即係都搞緊就話，你攞個 NFT 就可以換一張嘅 membership card 咁樣。咁呢個 membership card 咧就係你每次 purchase 都有優惠嘅。咁呢個都可以係一種方式。咁但係我諗如果我哋更加整合得好嘅就係，我都會即係譬如我哋幫唔同嘅朋友去做一啲 NFT project 嘅時候，都會探討咗你哋實質有啲咩業務，我點樣嘅 NFT 形式，因為 NFT 其實佢就係一張 smart contract 嘛，其實佢可以有好多唔同嘅形式嘅。咁揾啱咗呢樣形式，其實佢可以幫到大家喺 post-pandemic， 特別係大家即係。我諗而家大家又攞咗消費券啦，咁我諗有好多好似我哋咁嘅公司，其實會幫大家會解決埋個問題嘅。有好多 user 依一刻冇cryptocurrency 喎，佢連個crypto 嘅嗰個銀包嘅 wallet 都冇喎。我哋咧直頭係配埋一啲同事咧，我哋會有呢個叫做customer service 係咩啊？教佢哋去開電子銀包，教佢哋點樣去做交易，甚至即係我諗對 marketer 嚟講，因為我哋公司入帳我係使緊港幣噶嘛，我哋都會幫佢哋去解決埋。因為我諗重點係我哋要擁抱呢個未來嘅科技，因為未來似乎就所謂元宇宙係會 會更加流行啦。我哋而家譬如好多嘅辦公室都仲係好多同事 work from home， 我哋點樣去溝通？咁我哋其實都係靠好似我哋今日咁，即係一個虛擬嘅場景嚇，即係用 Zoom 嘅技術去做一個 webinar。咁將來唔排除我哋喺工作場景都已經係虛擬㗎啦。咁我哋可能我 emerge 多少少啊？我今日着呢件衫，我喺虛擬世界嘅時候，其實嗰件衫係 NFT 嚟㗎。咁已經有一啲我哋琴日啱啱都同啲朋友同事討論，最近有個 app 咧就係你裝咗喺手機度咧，你就買一個虛擬嘅波鞋，咁咧你就一路行路好，跑步都好，你跑咗幾多公里，你就可以賺虛擬貨幣嘅。咁原來呢個 app 咧，佢已經同一個運動品牌合作咗啦，佢個波鞋咧係屬於嗰個品牌嘅。咁呢一啲咁嘅形式其實係未來係不斷發生嘅，所以我都會建議大家即係話短時間即係我哋要 capture 即係大家願意使錢嘅時候，我哋可以借 NFT 呢種 project 作為我哋一種 making noise 嘅嘢。咁但係長遠其實可以探討一下嗰個同我哋品牌產品嘅價值嘅聯繫啦。咁呢個就會發揮更大嘅作用。
好啊，多謝Jordan 啊 ，thank you Felicia。咁今日我都 round up 一下咯，咁咧時間少 overrun， 不過我睇住啲 audience 冇走咧，我覺得大家都 enjoy 嘅。咁咧首先賣個廣告先，咁我哋 HKIC 嚟緊5月都繼續有同類型或者差唔多題目嘅webinar 嘅形式啦，希望盡快喺 Q2 都有啲 face to face 嘅 meeting 啦。咁你只要上去見到右上角 HKIC 同埋TechApple 咧，我哋會新嘅 news 啦，同埋有啲新嘅活動講俾大家聽㗎啦。咁另外咧，我哋會都好開心啊！今年咧就啱，因為我哋都抱擁科技即係科技嘅 training。咁我哋同VTC 有個新嘅 program 叫 RTTP 嘅 learning program。咁咧企業最高可以攞到60萬嘅 training。有助你認識講嘅 technology 啦，點 implement 喺你嘅機構裏邊啦，令到你嘅同事可以 up skills 係嘛，即係接觸呢啲咁嘅工具，能夠 provide 多啲價值。咁最後啦，今日嘅 webinar 到呢度咧告一個段落。不過喺完咗呢個 webinar 之後咧，我哋同事都會出一個 Q&A for survey， 俾翻啲 comment 我哋啊，例如嚟緊係有啲咩題目啊，又或者今日嘅內容有咩 follow up 啊，我哋都可以幫到手。咁今日 thank you for this year，thank you Jordan。OK， 咁我哋同所有朋友，我哋下次見啦，拜拜。
Thank you，拜拜。
好，再見，拜拜 ，thank you。